Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we're going to be doing an updated list of the best drift cars in GTA 5 Online. Now the new tuners update has changed the game quite considerably in terms of drifting, with the inclusion of the new low grip tires and also tons of new vehicles for us to use. So this video aims to show you what I now think as of this update are the 10 best cars in the game overall to use for drifting. Now all of these are going to be backed up with reasoning, but at the end of the day this is going to be my personal opinion. This is subjective, so if you agree or disagree with anything on here, I'd love to hear your opinions down below. And if you think there are any cars that I missed out I should have put in here, do let me know about that as well. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe for more GTA automotive content and for drifting. Now real quick before we get into it, I do have a playlist of other drifting guides and drifting content you might want to check out, so I'm just going to leave that in the description on the top right. But if you do want to go ahead and see me make a drift build for any of the vehicles mentioned in this one that I haven't done already, do go ahead and comment that down below and I would be more than happy to go ahead and make some of these. With all of that being said, I do hope you enjoy the video, but let's get into it. At the number 10 spot we have got the Warrener HKR. Now the reason I've placed it at number 10 is because the car is fairly slow, however it does have a fairly consistent mid-drive boost you can use to get power to the rear wheels, and due to its low speed, especially with the low grip tires, it feels like it's on rails. This car is super difficult to spin out and should be perfect for beginners to try out their drifting. If they want to start their drifting career, I don't see anything better to begin with, as this car honestly has a super fluid motion to it. Okay, you can go ahead and just slide this everywhere. You don't have to worry about spinning out too much. You can just take this wherever. It's best suited for sort of inner city kind of little course drifting around little obstacles, maybe in parking lots, that sort of thing, as I'm doing right now. It doesn't really have the power to go ahead and try anything too insane, but for what it's worth, it's a pretty decent starter drift car and I'd highly recommend it if you're a beginner. Coming in at the number 9 spot is the Karin Futo. Now once upon a time many of us did begin our drifting careers with this car, and it is super easy to see why. Now the car is super nimble and very useful for track drifting, inner city drifting, or just drifting around tight corners and obstacles, and is super fun to throw around. Now it does have a bit more power than the Warrener and is a slight bit more unstable, but that pays off massively. If you manage to get the mid-drive speed boost down on this car, which is fairly consistent, you are going to be sliding this thing like there's no tomorrow. This car is super fun to use, and with that mid-drive speed boost it allows you to get a bit more aggressive with your drifting technique than the Warrener, and allow you to get the basics of drifting down fairly easily. Now the car does not come with low grip tires, so you will need to use the old version of stancing, the old method, to go ahead and get this thing going, but once you do it will pay off massively. It's a super fun car to try and I'd highly recommend it. Next up we have the Vulcan Nebula Turbo, and this car really shines at that medium, kind of low to medium sort of speed for drifting. It has a really nice handling model, so you can take it around corners very fluidly, but you can also get it to go around quite aggressively if you need it to, due to its higher performance than the two previous cars. Overall it's fairly easy to control. It has a nice mid-drive speed boost as well to go ahead and get some power to the rear wheels if needed, and is a fairly modest drift car to use all around. I find it pretty fun to use and I like to throw it around every now and again, but things to keep in mind, it just does not have the new low grip option for tires, so you will need to stance it the old fashioned way, as with all the other pre-DLC cars you will see in this one. But it is still really nice to go ahead and throw around. It's super fun and I'd highly recommend it. Next up we have the Anis Euros. Now this car can drift fairly well with the new low grip tires option, and can get some really nice fluid movement in there as you try to go ahead and drift it, and is possible to go ahead and do some of those higher speed, more impressive drifts. However, if you take this thing on, there's one thing you do have to keep in mind, and that it is super overpowered. The oversteer on this car is immense, and if you're not ready for it, it will punish you really badly for it. It will kick out so much if you use the power use the throttle at the wrong time, you use too much of it, all of those sort of factors. And I actually kind of like that. It's like the ZR380. It's got a lot of oversteer. You can kind of control it if you use throttle control and counter steering to your advantage. It also has a decent mid-drive speed boost, but the car has enough power you won't always need to use it. You don't need to rely on it for the drift, but it is a nice touch. But yeah, the main thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that it has got a lot of oversteer, but if you can get that down, you can control it. This thing is super nice to drift. Next up is the new Futo GTX. Now this car is super nice. It actually feels like you're using some kind of cheat or mod when you're trying to go ahead and drift like this, because the movement is so nice. It flows so well from corner to corner, and doing transitions is super easy with this car. It is very, very nice to use, and personally one of my favorites from this new update. Now, one thing you're going to keep in mind for this is that you need to use the mid-drive speed boost quite a lot to go ahead and get yourself some more power to those rear wheels. But besides that, the low grips make this car an absolute dream to go ahead and drift. Chaining is very easy to go ahead and chain your drifts together, and you can really take this anywhere you want. You're going to be golden at that low to medium speed range. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that it will tend to spin out a bit more if you try and attempt some more aggressive maneuvers, but if you try and take it, you know, just nice and chilled, laid back, this thing is super fun to go and take around. Next up is one of my personal favorites, the Benefactor Schwarzer. Now this car is absolutely perfect for a beginner who wants to move on from the sort of slower cars and move on towards those higher tier, faster vehicles and reach that next level of drifting at high speeds. This car is super nice to throw around, has a very consistent mid-drive boost you can go ahead and use to your advantage, and is very easy to chain your drifts together with. I love this car to drift. It is super nice to use and it's really fun to drive. Now, it is going to be a little bit of a step up from those slower cars. It will tend to spin a bit more if you can't control it very well. So learning techniques such as throttle control and counter steering are absolutely vital if you want to thrive with this thing. But once you get those down, you give this thing a little bit of practice and lower it with the old school method because it doesn't have those low grips available. This thing is an absolute breeze to drive. It's super nice and is a really nice way to introduce you to faster levels of drifting. Next up, we have got the S13 itself, the Anis Remus. Now this car is fairly nice to go ahead and try drift with, and once you slam it and put on some low grip tires, this thing loves to slide. This thing is super nice, super slidey, super slippery, and it's very consistent in terms of its ability to do the mid-drive speed boost so you can get yourself a bit of extra speed, and you are able to do some very quick drifts with this thing. You don't need to rely on the car being at a slower speed to go ahead and control this thing. It is fairly decent at kind of any level of any level of speed. Now, you are able to chain your drifts together pretty well with this car, and the low grips make it slightly easier than some of the other cars to learn with. I think people will pick up on this a lot quicker than maybe something like the Schwarzer, just because those low grips do go ahead and make the car a bit extra slippery, but without the extra cost of having to use the mid-drive like as a requirement. But I will say this car does tend to spin a little bit with some really aggressive entries, but overall it's pretty fun to use, and I reckon you'll have a blast if you try this thing out. Next up, we have the RT3000 making a strong start to our top 3. Now, among the new vehicles so far, I think this is among the best of the best for drifting. The absolute power this car has while also maintaining a good level of control is absurd to me. Like, you can drift this thing super well. It has a nice fluid motion the whole way through. Decent mid-drive speed boost if in case you need it, and it has the power to go ahead and do some more high-speed aggressive drift without issue. And here's the kicker, you don't need to use the low grip tires for this thing. What you're seeing right now was completely done on stock tires. This thing drifts like a madman without the use of the new tires. Don't even consider using them, they make the handling worse somehow, okay? As is perfect for this car. I'm absolutely in love with how this thing goes, and the drifting on it is super awesome. Let me know what you guys think of this one. This is among my favorites now. It has made a really good impression on me. At the number 2 spot, we have got the Banshee 900R. Now, this has been among the top favorites for those highest level of drifters for super long, and it is so easy to see why. This thing has an excellent mid-drive speed boost, so you can go ahead and use this pretty much whenever you need, and you can get so much power out of that back end. So you can use this at low speed, high speed, use it in pretty much any situation. This thing will be sliding if you do it upright. Now, it doesn't have the non-grip tires, but you just slam it and it might as well be, because of how easily this thing slides. This thing is awesome. Now, the car has tons of untapped potential. If you're at that really high skill level, you can even move on to do some crazy insane stuff like reverse entry drifting and all of that insane top tier stuff. The only slight negative this car has is just that it's super difficult to master, is really overpowered, and that, you know, it's gonna be a daunting task if you're new to this car. You will take a lot of time and it will take a lot of effort for you to get good with this thing, but it is worth the effort. It is a super nice car to drift with. It is super fun, and I absolutely adore drifting this. If you know me at all, you already knew what number 1 was going to be. It has to be the Rapid GT. The previous king of drifting has still got the crown. Nothing can compare to it. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's anything besides maybe the Banshee that can come close to this car. The simple fact is the driving experience is unmatched by any other car that you try and drift in this game. It simply tops. Now, while the Banshee is incredibly good for drifting, this car can drift at that same level, if not better, but it is simply easier to do. You don't have to wrench the steering wheel like you're trying to fight it or strangle the steering wheel. It actually works with you. It feels like the car just glides through the corners. It is super nice and is an awesome driving experience, okay? It has an excellent mid-drive boost, so you can get power to the rear wheels whenever you want. It has tons of potential to drift low, high speed, any kind of situation. This car will work with it, no problem. As well as that, it has a really nice tendency to chain. When you chain your drifts together, it just glides. It's just super smooth. The transitions and everything on this car are perfect. You know, it's not like jittery. It doesn't, you know, fight with you. It's just really nice, and it is simple, and it is not too difficult to learn even. I'd say it's about a medium difficulty to start learning. You know, it's not anywhere near as hard as the Banshee, and honestly, I think this is probably the best drift car in the game, and I would be hard pressed to find anything else that can come maybe close to it or the Banshee. But overall, that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you did enjoy that or find it informative. If so, please do go ahead and drop a like on the video and subscribe for more. Also, you can go ahead and join my Discord server. Links going to be in the description for car meets, car shows, drifting, all of that kind of stuff. And as well as that, do let me know if you would like to see an independent drift build for any of these cars. That's going to be all though for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.